with Messy on Purpose, and I have Stacy here with me today, who's going to tell us a little bit about herself. And then she also just wrote her first book, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we have another author on our hands that we're going to dive into her process and what she has going on there as well. So Stacy, do you want to just tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Stacy Schaffer. I'm a child, adolescent, and young adult therapist located in Arvada, Colorado, which is right outside of Denver. And
funny. I moved from Denver. I lived in like the Denver Thornton border.
No way. So many
like
of my
4
clients
years
live in
ago.
Thornton. That's so fun. Yeah, I moved here in 2009. I'm from Arizona, so it's a different climate. Yeah.
Very different.
As a snowstorm goes on outside. And so I've been in private practice approaching 20 years. And the fun thing, like you said, I just wrote a book called With Love from a Children's Therapist, #Lessons I've Learned Along the Way. And it is part memoir, part clinical expertise of what I've seen on the other side of the couch from kids and teens for the last 20 years. And as one podcaster introduced me, it was my favorite, said, she wrote a guide to not emotionally damage the next generation. So I'm going to keep that. Yeah. I'm going to keep it.
I love that. Did you add it?
Well, I've been when talking about it, because I'm just like, here's my book and it's good. And so that seemed like a fun thing to add, but I wanted to make sure to credit her because I thought that was really clever and it didn't come from me.
I love that. So what brought you into that type of therapy? Like, what made you want to take that route?
Yeah, so my childhood was pretty crappy, as is the case with lots of people who end up in the helping professions. And so there's just a whole montage of abuse and neglect and really bad parenting, grief. My mom died when I was 22, and there's no one left related to me in the world. And so I remember growing up thinking, surely there has to be adults who know what they're doing, right? I don't know them, but hopefully they exist. And so I kind of developed a desire to
help
people that were kids like I was, that weren't given a lot of guidance or comfort or support. And then my mom died when I was in college, and I was already headed to grad school. And so, I had a horrible childhood. There was a breaking moment when I flipped the script, when I was like, I'm just going to be perfect and do all the things right, because surely you can't get hurt if you're perfect. It was real creepy. And, and so kind of built a foundation around performance until about a decade ago, when it stopped working. So.
It stopped working. What do you mean by stopped working?
Well, I think that a lot of times, when you're shiny and you want to, you have a deep desire to protect the inner you from the outside world, because it feels too vulnerable and there's just too much pain, and you feel like it's unleashed Pandora's box. I think that can be effective, but I think eventually it outlives its usefulness. And that, in the desire to actually be really known, really loved, really seen, you have to show yourself. And so living in a way that was really guarded, didn't lead me to that outcome. And so when I started actually doing my own inner work, about my childhood, that's when stuff started to integrate. And spoiler alert, I'm a better clinician and a healthier person. Who knew? So.
It is something people don't realize. You really can't fully help other people unless you fix the things that you need to in yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I worked in a community mental health agency with a clinician who definitely believed they had arrived, and we're working with really high risk teenagers, and they're just girl, please. Because like it was coming from like, it felt like a place on a pedestal, like of the, I don't understand why you don't just like use your coping skills. And so it didn't fall into that category, but I definitely fell into I was really open about my grief related to my mom. But that wasn't the deepest pain. And so it was I definitely had the authentic vibe. But reality, there was more. But wait, there's more.
How do you feel like you had to adjust the things that you learned to like fix in yourself working with like adolescents? Because working with the younger generations and these kids, they're not as like, I think adults almost are harder because they're so stuck in their ways. But like it's so different working with kids and having to like open them up too. And if they're shut in, that could be even harder too, right? Because they're protecting themselves. So how did you like use what you've learned and what you were educated in to start helping children?
Yeah, I think, like kids, like it like cuts through the bull crap. Like they don't, like they see right through like everything. And so, in my, in my book, there's a chapter called #Get Your Own Stacy, like doing your inner work. Cause I had an 8-year-old yell that at their dad in the waiting room. Like, get your own Stacy. And spoiler alert, he did not get his own Stacy. But I think like back in the day when I went to school, the theory was like you really need to have like all like your crap together before you are a therapist. And as we've evolved as a society, we see that that's not a thing. It's not a thing. That of course you can't be like bleeding out all over the place. I'm gonna have inappropriate self-disclosure. Like, of course you can't. But there's a difference between being divided and being integrated as a clinician. Cause I have a lot of kids that say to me stuff like, do you think I'm crazy because I'm in counseling? I'm like, are you joking? I saw your grand therapist on Tuesday. Life is hard. Have you been outside? It's hard out there, And so I think to like own your own humanity is so refreshing. And especially for kids that are trying to like figure themselves out and they see someone who doesn't act like there's an arrival point, I think is really healing.
It helps when people stop looking at the like highlights, right? Because that's what everyone sees. And when we see all these highlight reels and like these perfect lives that are not perfect, it's just what we see, especially when we absorb too much social media. It's like showing the reality. Like I appreciate real videos, like of people like in real life situations or like people just talking about real things. That's what this whole podcast is based about, right? Is to show you like the real, the messy life, not the picture perfect success. And I think we get skewed skewed into thinking that like, oh, I'm not good enough because I don't look like them. I'm not as successful as them. I don't have what they have. And that has to kind of affect kids even more, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And I mean, I think that they all have like access to social media, so they have so much more exposure of things. But I would also say, I would like argue of the generation of today, they are so much healthier about mental health stigma. You know, like they don't understand, because like I always say in first session, like if you see me in public, you can say hi to me, but I can't say hi to you. You can avoid me, you can ignore me, but I can't. And they're always like, why? And I'm like, well, you might be with a friend, and they might be like, who is that? And why does she wear so much purple? And like, those are questions you can't answer, because I don't know. I don't like it. And they're like, but why wouldn't I just say you're my therapist? I'm like, you can. I'm just saying. And like, they like for decades, they have not understood this. They're just like, what? I like, all my friends see a therapist, you know? And so there's a badge of honor, I think, which can swing too far in the other direction. But I think that, that they're also seeing like, they're inundated with information. So they're also seeing a high level of authenticity matched with people's highlight reels.
Which I love that, right? Because I'm that type of person. Like, I've always kind of been that way. It just is what it is. I was the
Yeah.
kid at school that carried the tampons for the other girls because
There
they
you
were
go.
scared to walk through the hallway. You know what I mean? Like, it is just a normal thing. It is fine.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And like, just being able to say, yeah, that's my therapist. You should be able to say that. And it's crazy that people feel like they have to hide things when the reality is we all have our own things, whether it's a therapist
Yeah.
or not.
Well, yeah, and I think, I mean, because like the parent generation of today, like they were taught that it's like, shh, like, you know, it's only like the really messed up people, which isn't true. Like one of my kids said the other day, like, nothing bad has happened. I'm like, you don't have to just talk about bad things. Like, I'm like, it is like there are things in your life that still deserve support, regardless of how bad your week was. And like, you know, keep paying attention because next week it'll probably be rough. But like, I think that that it's beautiful the way the kids of today are like communicating with their friends about, yeah, well, my therapist said, you know, like I got a phone call from a mom, it was a long time ago, and she was like, my third grader was told about you from another third grader on the playground. Is that the cutest referral you've ever heard? And I said, it indeed is. Yes. Yes, it is. It's pretty cute.
And I mean, kids need somebody to be able to confide in too, because you can't always do that with your parents.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
One of
didn't
my-
have that growing up at
No,
all. Like you
no.
couldn't.
Mm-mm. Like, or what? Yeah, one of my friends, Denise, is a first grade teacher, and I brought, we had arranged like for my therapy dog in training, Willow, to bring to her classroom, and like she had me sit down with them and talk, and like, and Denise is like, "Do you remember what Miss Stacy does?" And I was like, "Yeah, I like talk to kids that are like having a hard time," and a kid popped up and they go, "Isn't that all of us?" Yeah. Yeah,
It's
and
true.
I mean, you're not wrong. I guess maybe I need a better intro, but yeah, like like it is, like it is hard to be human, especially in today's day and age. It's exhausting. So.
Oh, and like them knowing that everyone's got things going on really does like open up the reality of things and makes you not feel like there's something wrong with you because you have things going on.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you don't know and you just look at people and you're just like, why do they get the perfect life? You know what I mean? But then you don't see the things behind closed doors, so you don't actually know what they're dealing with.
Right. Well, I'll tell kids, they're just like, so and so is whatever. And I'm like, listen, I listen to people all day, every day. The popular kids are insecure too. Like, you know, like I see all of them. I was like, because at the end of the day, like we all want to be loved. We all want to be liked, you know? And so it just comes out different. Their package is maybe like a little bit more polished.
You usually don't see it because people put up shields. So like your insecurities kind of, you deflect those if you don't know how to handle them. And
Yeah.
so like you were saying with like the popular kids, right? Those kids typically are a little meaner to some of the other kids because they're reflecting the things that they don't like about themselves. And it's something that kids don't know any better. They just look at them and they're just like, oh, they're popular and like I want to be like them, or why am I not like them, instead of, you know, realizing that they're going through the same crap.
Oh yeah, I'm working on like content for my social media, like about Regina George, but make it 2026. You know, because like they all recognize that reference. Like, who's the Regina George? You know, and I think it's hard because I see Regina George. And like, let me tell you, like she's on the struggle bus with the rest of us. She just thinks she gets the front row seat.
Or she just puts herself in the front row seat. Doesn't
There's
mean
that. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, and that like that it's hard to not have support. So I like being a safe place to land. You know, I tell kids like, you know, like deposit it here so you can go out there. And my hope is that it's still going to be hard when they're adults because, you know, we're adults. It's hard. But that, like, they'll have more skills than were given to previous generations, like how to handle the things that come in their way.
So with that, I mean, obviously, like there was a lot of your reasoning to going into that career path. So what was it that brought you to writing a book? Because that's such a big step, and like that's something that I feel like not many people can do. Just sit down and just write a book.
Yeah. Pretty proud of it. It's purple. Pretty proud of it. And so I, for like a really long time, I was like thinking, like, I'm hearing some of the same things, like some of the same needs and desires of kids that I wish I could communicate to like the greater world, because counseling support is a privilege. I wish it wasn't, but it's a privilege. And so not everybody can access like a children's therapist, right? And so, or have the means to do so. And so, I was like, I'm hearing like themes of things, and like, gosh, like, I wish I could communicate this. And how it works with confidentiality in my office is that I always say, you know, like the limits, if you say you're going to hurt yourself, someone's going to hurt you. But how I make everybody happy, is that, cause people pleaser, but how I make everybody happy is like that. I say, I'll never quote you. Like, and so your parents going to want to know what's going on. So I'll tell them something I said, something we talked about, but I won't quote you. And that's how, like I towed the line. And so there were things that come up all the time that are in that gray area. That they're like, I hate this thing that my mom does. And so I'd be like, did you want me to talk to her about it? And they're like, no, because you'll just say, oh, because I'm the worst parent ever. And like, oh, you only want to tell Stacy things. You know, they're like, it won't end well. And so I'm like, I wonder if I could like write something that doesn't make anyone feel on the spot, but just like my observation. And then about a decade ago, when I started doing my own deep like inner healing work, I was like, oh, there's like nuggets from that childhood I bet I could extract. Yeah, about that. And so it's kind of a combination of like what like younger me needed, as well as like, you know, just what like I've seen from talking to kids and knowing their culture all day, every day.
So what kind of things were you seeing that were that like gray area?
I think like some subtle bullying stuff is like really in the gray area, you know, like that, like, and things, you know, because I've talked with kids about like other kids are allowed to not like you and it not be bullying. Like that's just, you don't like everyone, so why would, you know, like everyone like you? And so, some things like kind of along those lines, and ways that kids were feeling shut down in conversation. I think like a big one is that like well-meaning parents. And let me just say, I have so much respect for parents who bring their kids to counseling. It is a vulnerable thing. It is a hard thing. It's a costly thing. And I think that it's a big deal. Oftentimes I'll have parents say like, I think I broke my kid, and I'm like, first of all, your kid's not broken. Second of all, like they're already doing better than previous generations that didn't acknowledge there was a thing. So I think what happens sometimes is that well-meaning parents and caregivers will say, I understand how you feel because I was a kid once too. Well, here's the thing. We all had to deal with like other kids. We all had to deal with curfews and grades and like chores. We had that. But also, what is a big like talking point for me is that this is not the same childhood that their parents experience. There's the school violence issue, which comes up every day of my life. There's social media issues. It's a different culture, as it will be 20 years from now. And so what kids were hearing a lot, is like, yeah, I get it. When they're like inside, they're like, you don't though. And like, you're already shutting me down, but they're trying to build a bridge of like, yeah, like I identify, but kids are like, in your attempt to be relatable, you become so unrelatable. And so I write a lot in my book about like being an active tourist in another kid's world, because you can't navigate it. You don't know. And so I think the education about what's going on in teen culture is like a huge like level of importance for me.
What type of advice do you give to get somebody to that point? Because it's not always easy to look at like someone else's point of view. And I feel like a lot of parents and a lot of adults in general have a hard time seeing things from other people's vision, right? And I feel like even more so from their children. Even though they should be closer to their children, I feel like it's harder to look from their point of view. It's even more unrecognizable.
For sure. I mean, I think if you're already interested in that line of thinking, you're doing like tons better, right? Than like parents who like don't think along those lines. So I think that's a huge step. But a question I always like to offer to parents to like give to their kids is, help me understand what it's like to be you. Because I think that, like kids feel like so misunderstood so much of the time. I don't think you need to know everything about kid culture. Like, you know, the latest thing is this. Do you know about that?
I don't. You did that earlier, and I have no idea what that is.
Oh,
the last
like,
thing I've heard of was like the 6'9" thing, and that was only because I watched or 6'7". That was it. That was it. 6'9" was like
my
the thing.
Existence. The bane
that
of
one.
my existence.
That one I learned from South Park. So.
The bane, the very bane. But kids are making other kids stop doing that by saying that was so 2025. So that's helpful. And so.
So what is this? Yeah. What is that?
This means like big applause.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think I'm actually doing a series, like in February about translating youth culture, like on my social media. But, I think like knowing one thing, like starting at one thing, knowing it really well that your kid is into, like right now, a lot of them are into K-pop Demon Hunters.
What the heck is that?
That's why I went to grad school. So I went to grad school. And so it's a show on Netflix, it's a movie that I just received like a game with that theme because that's where my life is at. But like a lot of them really relate to, there's like three main characters, like really relate to one of them. And so like if your kid is like, you know, like a kid says to me, like, I feel like Rumi sometimes, I know what they mean. That translates far. Like when they don't always have the language for like, I feel like I don't fit in within my family unit. You know, they're not going to say that. But they're going to, just like every generation, relate it to something, you know, like I really identified with Punky Brewster, big fan, you know? And so, like knowing like that already tells you some things. And so I think that that sometimes it's hard for parents if like the thing their kid is into is really boring or really weird, you know. Let's be honest, like that, it's like okay. But I think like caring enough to be like, tell me more, and actually listening to that is like huge. They're like, you want to see me. And my thing, and I wrote about, if your kid doesn't think they can talk to you about the little things, they're not going to talk to you about the big ones. So if your kid like sees you showing disinterest, we talk for ad nauseum about K-pop Demon Hunters, which doesn't mean you have to talk ad nauseum, but when you talk about K-pop Demon Hunters, they're not going to tell you about their feelings about self-harm. They're not going to. They're going to assume you're disinterested. And so that's why I hear so much, because like I do know so much about their culture that I can have that conversation with them, which paves the way for harder ones.
So it's just kind of getting, like you recommend just getting almost just being involved in their life. I feel like there are a lot of parents that aren't like really involved, don't even know what their kids are into, unless it comes down to what do you want for your birthday.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Like, and I think, I think just even showing like an active, like interest, and it doesn't mean that has to become your interest. And actually that would be a bad idea, because then they won't like it anymore. But I think that having a level, so many kids tell me, I love that you know our language. Like I have a video that's coming out this week about crashing out. And that, you know, that's part of their vernacular right now. And it just like, it means like basically at your mental limit. And so like I can ask them like, what's making you like crash out, and they're like, oh, you speak my language. And like I think that that is really helpful to them because they don't have to like explain, unpack that before they get to what they want to talk about.
What about like what do you tell parents? Because there's some that literally they work so much, and between that and everything else that kids have going on and the house, and they just don't have the time to even really dive into it. Because there are people out there that barely have time to take care of themselves, let alone dive into what their
Sure.
kids are into.
Yeah, I mean, but I would say a little goes a long way. So you're driving them to school and you're like, tell me about your favorite character in your favorite show right now. And they're like, well, Zoe from like K-pop Demon Hunters, like she's really strong. Like that's more than you had before you left the house. Like I don't think you have to do like an annotated deep dive research into their thing. I think you have like everyone has the ability to show a vested interest in some and be like, I want to hear more about Zoe. Like, how about like like they bring it up when you drive them back from school, like or to practice to whatever, to be like like you're not committing to having like a binging marathon of Stranger Things, but you're like, but tell me more. What was one of your favorite scenes? I have a kid that's a little upset at me right now because I have not finished this season of Stranger Things, and he really, really wants to talk about it, and I haven't gotten to it, and I feel bad. But I know that he wants to talk because big feelings came up related to a character, and so I know that that is going to make him more likely to like dive deeper about the thing he's actually in therapy for.
What about like, so yeah, it's easy to have that conversation on the way to school. I totally agree. But what about if a kid isn't willing to talk to you? So I know like things build up, right? And then they're 13, 14 years old and they won't even really talk to you anymore. They're sitting in the
Mm-hmm.
back seat on the way and they're just like arms crossed or like on their phone or whatever, like don't talk to me. And I feel like that's a battle just to even get them to talk,
Sure.
especially to their parent. So like what would be the advice for something like that?
Yeah, I think, and that is developmentally normal, right? Like, because like that age group, you are like kind of developing your own identity, and you are supposed to like have individuation and like separate. I always think that the kids that if at least there's one safe adult, the research shows like having like one person other than, even if you have like great parents, if you have one person other than your parents that is feeding into you, that cares about you, it's invested in your stuff, like it proves more positive outcomes for like the future. So I would say I don't know, like my honorary niece Ada is 4. And I like to think I'm like one of those people like in her life that her mom and dad are amazing. Also true is like she's not probably going to confide in them at age 13, but she has me, which is like bonus, like your honorary aunt's like a kid's therapist, like win-win. And so I would say that like to even like their best friend's mom, they're like they're more likely, and like it's not like something that's wrong if they're not talking to you at that age. It's actually developmentally appropriate. So I would say to like make sure like that there's somebody that you trust, like that like is investing in them. Like I had a favorite teacher in high school. She was amazing, still is amazing. And so I think that having a safe place to land, a kid's therapist, having a safe place to land proves like more positive outcomes than anything.
And is that kind of like, so what if you have a kid that like the parent isn't open to talking, but they want to be able to talk to their parent?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really hard. That's why it's a big part of my platform to do your own work. That therapists should be doing their own work. Parents should be, because I've been saying a lot lately. If my mom had one parenting book, had seen a reel. I mean, my mom died before texting, but like, if my mom had some kind of reel, some kind of one thing, that like little shift would have made such a big impact. And so I think that that's hard because, like kids think old school counseling was like, well, just talk to them. But now we've realized like you can't do someone else's work for them. And so that's a really tricky one because they're like, I get the question like framed a lot with lots of different variables. What do I do to make so and so do a thing? And I'm like, you cannot make so and so do a thing. Actually, you're the variable. And so I think that it's like the healthier that I get personally, like doing my own work with my own therapist, the more that it benefits my friends and my clients. And it's not on them to like make me a safer listener. Like that's my work.
It's such a weird. So growing up, I know my mom she had to have had like a rough childhood and like things that she still to this day has not worked through and dealt with, and like has a lot of things. And I feel like she wanted to be that mom sometimes.
Sure.
Where she wanted to talk to you, and then there was other times that like it was like this brick wall, and like no matter how hard you beat at it, like you're not getting through it. And so you didn't feel like you had like that safe space to go to, even if you wanted to. And then you'd have like little ounces of like area where she would want to be that person. And it's hard because now you've already built up the wall too, and so it kind of makes things complicated when they're not. I don't even know if sometimes they even know that there's work to be done. They think that this is just how life is, and that's something that like I've made peace with. Like I understand she's never going to be who she could be, you know what I mean, because she doesn't even know where to start or even to start. And I feel like that's a really hard thing for kids to deal with, that like to get out of that spiral, because that's generational trauma too, right? I can turn around and I could have been exactly the same way if I didn't work through things.
Mm-hmm. No, I do think that is so tricky. I heard it, someone say, I really liked it and I want to steal it, but I also don't want to plagiarize it. But, someone say like that they're a cycle starter as opposed to like a cycle breaker. 'Cause they're like, there's so many generations of like pain and like mental health and so many things built up. And they're like, that feels like too much pressure to break all of that. Like, I'd like to start a new thing. And so I'm telling kids like all the time, like, do you know how cool it is that like, the term red flags, like when you're 8 years old, like, and it doesn't mean that they're always like accurately assessing, but the level of awareness, I think like is like amazing to enter into with coping skills and language, that you're entering into adulthood with that. Like that would have changed so much. I teach kids a lot what passive aggressive means, and they're like, oh, I do that. I'm like, you do. Yeah, you do.
Well, it's so easy to go one or two ways, right? Like, depending on how you're, like, raised. Like, no matter what, you could literally have everything handed to you, have the nanny, have, like, everything you've ever wanted, have school paid for you, all of that, and still go the other way. Oops.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then you can also come from absolutely nothing, been abused, been molested, and, like, end up being on top of the world.
Yeah. That's what I'm going for. Yeah, like, and I think it's tricky, and it's just like it's really complicated. So, one of my young adults said something about, she's like, and I know it's a red flag, and it wasn't like, and I said, so the people who have massive red flags don't worry about having red flags. So there's that. She's like, they don't. I'm like,
well, they're usually not even aware.
Yeah, and I'm like, so that's not actually, and it's actually a green flag that's something that you're processing through. And so I love this generation so much, because they're just entering in with so much health, and they're like, like not about to be, I can like see through it, like stuff that we all felt but didn't have words for, that we were experiencing. I think it's such a gift. To be able to be like that kid, if they choose to have kids, is going to be healthier than the generation before, and I just think that that's the cool thing about like the work that I do, is the hope of that.
So I have an interesting question, and
Okay, my
this
birthday's in
got
May.
brought up on another podcast because
Oh, that's not the question. Okay.
so that's not the question. So this got brought up on another podcast. We were also talking about adolescence and kind of development and all of these emotions and mental health and all that. And one of the questions I had for her was, and I'd like you to answer it too. We when it comes to anxiety, I think as a culture, we've kind of came to the point where like now we're looking at anxiety like it's almost like a mental illness, and it's really not. It's a natural thing, something where you're gonna get anxiety no matter what you're trying new, right? A little bit of anxiety is normal. It's good. It means you're pushing yourself and you're learning. Now we're to the point where a lot of people are saying that it's so bad you shouldn't have anxiety, and if you have anxiety, you just need to stop, and you don't do that, and avoid it at all costs using different types of vices. I mean, prescription drugs, all of that stuff to kind of numb those things. And to me, I feel like it stops the learning process because now you're stuck where you are, because anything you're going to do new is going to give you anxiety because it's natural. I mean, to this day, like getting on a stage and talking in front of people will give me anxiety. I really don't care all that much. You know what I mean? I have no like shame or anything, but it's just that like initial being in front of a bunch of people and talking. And like I do this stuff all the time, and it still gives me a little bit of anxiety, but it's a good thing because it's growing as a person. And I feel like if we're shutting down anxiety, we are kind of stopping growth for like youth. And what are your thoughts on that? Like, I think it's a good thing that we're doing mental health and making sure people aren't extremely unhealthy with how they think and things. But I think the push on this anxiety and having anxiety and the fact that you shouldn't have anxiety is not good. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I hear that. I'm not sure kids are necessarily getting. I mean, I have a unique perspective because I see the kids that are getting mental health support, and so, but from what I see, because I don't know if you saw Inside Out 2, Kid Therapist Gold. Do you know the first Inside Out? It's okay if you don't.
I don't know. No.
You don't know what that is. So it's like kid therapist like favorite movie. But it's animated, and Amy Poehler is the voice of Joy, and so the first one, it has like the 5 characters like joy, anger, sadness, disgust, and did I say anger, sadness, disgust, fear, and fear, and so and it's like them having conversations like in the tween Riley's brain. Well, Inside Out 2 came out a couple years ago, and she got new characters because she's a teen now, and one of them is anxiety, and so like I think that a lot of them it helps to be like, well, what is like anxiety? Like I'll ask them like, what is anxiety saying in your head? And that it has normalized like anxiety for a lot of kids. They're like, I recognize that they're like, my anxiety is running the control panel that they have in the brain. And my hope is that they come out with Inside Out 3 and she like is about to go to college. That should be good times. But, I think that for all of us, like to kind of like unpack what's actually going on in our brain, because like anxiety disorder is a clinical thing, and that's like when like your level of functioning like is impacted by your anxiety, right? And so, but we also don't want people like misdiagnosing themselves like all over the place. Like I wrote about that too, that a lot of kids have been diagnosing themselves from TikTok, and I'm like, that's cute, but you're wrong. But and so I think that I often tell kids like, you're not going to have an absence of feeling. What do you mean you're sad? Like, of course you're sad. Have you been outside? And they're just like, yeah, because you're a human with a range of human emotions. And that like, if your anxiety is crippling you to the point where you can't go to school or do soccer practice, then, then there's a level of intervention that's needed. But of course you have like anxiety as you're about to do the spelling bee. Yeah. Like that's nerve-wracking. Like that means congratulations, you're a human. Like that is part of the condition of being a human. And so I think as I learn that, as I like stop being mad at myself for having my own range of human emotions, like I like that to trickle down to kids of like, yeah, you were anxious. Congratulations, like you're real.
I think it's that misdiagnosis thing. I think it's where like these kids are like not the ones that are working with you, right? Because you're helping them through that and understanding what they're going through and understanding their emotions and how to deal with it. I think it's more of these self-diagnoses.
For sure.
A lot of these kids just like are, anxiety's bad, and you know what I mean? And then they go to the doctor and then they just give them some prescription drugs that they don't need. And I think that is what the issue I'm more referring to, not necessarily the ones that are getting proper help.
Oh, I see. Well, I have a point to speak to that then. So I would say in 2022, 2023, I don't know, math is hard. I like feelings. But kids were misdiagnosing themselves with dissociative identity disorder, which is like what we say now about multiple personality disorder. That's the name. And so, it became a bit out of control. And one kid was like, I saw on TikTok, get this, that if you lose track of time, that means you have different personalities because your other person. And I was like, actually, I'm like, no. And so I would have lots of conversations with kids and kids in my life, like my friends' kids, like that were like, yeah, we are all made up of a bunch of parts, but that doesn't mean that you have that disorder because that stems from major and extreme trauma. And I totally get that, like, your mom shutting down, like, your internet at 10 p.m. every night is traumatic to you. But that's not what we considered trauma in the field. And so it became a big problem. Like, I had a kid one time, like, all of a sudden be like, who are you? And I was like, blank, 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 blank. I was like, okay, like that might work for some other people, but you don't have to do that for me. And they're like, okay. And so that became like kind of the bane of my existence. And actually one of my good therapist friends, she specializes in actual dissociative identity disorder for adults. And so that is actually how we became friends. Cause like I sought her out and I was like, I have all these kids that, and so we talked about it and became friends because of that. But that was a huge problem and I'm seeing it less.
That's good that you're seeing it less. That is a good thing. I feel like it's almost like those people in their early, maybe middle 20s now are kind of those people that were doing that a lot more. I think
maybe, I mean, like demographically, like that's like that seems like really like appropriate. I think that like it was literally a phase that like hit its intensity in 2022, 2023, because it was like all the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't.
I still see it. I'm not going to call out somebody in my family, but yeah. Anyway, somebody I know that like posts that stuff and like I see that like she shares people's stuff that shares the same thing and it's just I still see it.
And that's hard. And that's why it's so important to me to help kids feel like actually seen so that they don't have to put on a kind of facade to really get attention and get the comfort and care that they're looking for. Because that's at the end of the day, right? They're just like, I want to be known, but I don't really know how to go about it in a healthy way. And so I'm like, I call out that crap like right. I'm like, come on, like what? And I think that sometimes they're not very good actors too. And so that makes it easier to see through. They're not great actors.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when they're not good at acting it out, or like the people that get on and I'm not talking about kids. I'm just these are grown adults that I see
Oh.
do this. But they turn on the camera and then they're crying on camera. Like, come on. You're really that upset that you were able to turn on the camera and record yourself?
Yeah, I don't love that journey, especially since I carefully curate what I post online. I don't love that. Yeah, and I think that that's true. And that's just adding to the noise, you know? And so, like, I have a hard time with that because then it's like the kids who aren't the squeaky wheels, you know, like, don't get the attention they need because those voices are louder.
And they're usually like exaggerated voices.
Yeah. It's like, and they're like, I'm just like so and so. I'm like, you're not though, but you are grounded because you snuck your iPad. So, but that's fair because that was the rule, right? I mean, don't mean to be that guy, but you know.
Rules
But
are
I
rules.
do have a kid that that I see that that tells me that my office is the only place that they go that they're not interrupted, and I think that that's huge. I see a lot of kids, not a lot. I see some kids, and I have over the years. I respect this so much that they are the sibling of a kid who's like on fire, like a kid who's like has all these like needs like across the spectrum of whatever that is, and then the parents like I want to make sure that this kid doesn't get neglected, and I think that that's like so beautiful and like and just so aware because you know I'll talk to those kids about being the sibling of the kid and you know like and knowing culture like I know Bluey and there's a character that's like kind of out of control named Jack. It's a dog again when I went to grad school, another case in point. And so I've said to this kid who is the like Bluey demographic, I think it sounds like your brother is often like Jack, right? And he's like, he's exactly like Jack. And he's like, you know how Jack did this thing? Like my sibling did this thing, you know? And so I think it's like, again, like I'm not going to say to the 6-year-old, it sounds like your brother has attention deficit disorder with like a touch of ODD. Like it sounds like, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to be like, it sounds like he's like Jack.
And just finding a way to talk about it without directly saying things.
Yeah,
like that,
like
because,
that it's like a bridge that they're like, you see me, you know? So.
yeah. I can see where like especially like having a child on the spectrum and then having another child or a couple other children and how that can really like defer your attention and not even on purpose. Like you
Right.
have to pay attention. And
Right.
that's gotta be such a hard situation for parents, no matter how good of a parent you are.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because there's literally like it's a finite amount of time, you know, and like and attention. So I have so much, and I tell them a lot. Like I have so much respect for that. Like that you're just like I get that like my other kid has needs, and I don't want them to grow up and be like, yeah, no one noticed me because of so and so. And they might still say things like that because you know human experience, but that they're just like my parent cares enough to be like, oh, you have needs too.
Just that little bit goes a long way. And usually those kids are helping out too. You know what I mean? They're doing what they can and they're neglecting things that they would rather do.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I have one that the sibling like is constantly throwing fits and getting into trouble, so then the whole family can't do the thing. And so they talk to me about like being disappointed about not doing the thing because they wanted to do the thing. And so if the Inside Out characters are listening to me, the writers, I think disappointment should be a character. It should be Sadness's cousin. Because like I made that up in COVID when I was seeing kids telehealth for a while. I would say like, okay, so if disappointment were an Inside Out character, what color would they be? Because they're all different colors. What color would they be? And what would your disappointment be saying right now? Because they were all disappointed in COVID, you know, we all were like, what was that? Anyway. And that they're like, that they're identifying things so that they don't become something that they feel like they have to bury with an unhealthy coping skill in the future.
Out of curiosity, what were some of the answers you got?
What they would say or the colors?
Both.
Disappointment, like the very first thing that came gray. The very first thing that came to mind was a kid was like, my disappointment would say, Mom, just because I can't do swimming practice doesn't mean that it's a good idea to tell me to practice in the bathtub, because it's not the same.
I love kids because
Yeah,
they're so overly honest.
Oh my gosh, they're so funny. Like, yeah, or like, yeah, it's not fair that I didn't get to say goodbye to my friends before I left middle school, because like the like cutoff. We have a thing in the county. I'm in Colorado, like in the county that I'm at, called Outdoor Lab, and it's in the mountains, and it is in their 6th grade year that they get to go, and it's this fun thing, and they learn about mountain stuff and sky and whatever, but it's a big coveted event. And so Outdoor Lab was canceled COVID year, and like you don't get to like do it. It's 6th grade. And when it's over, it's over. And so like a lot of those kids that were either like leaving or entering 6th grade would say a lot about Outdoor Lab. And they'd be like, it's not fair that this happened when I'm this age. And so walking kids through that, because like it's just real. There's not a replacement for that. And then like when stuff started opening up again, they tried to do like a 2-day Outdoor Lab thing where the parent drives them up for hours and drives, and like it, and they're just like, that was lame. And so I think of disappointment a lot with like COVID.
Yeah, Colorado really shut down too during that time. It was pretty bad. That's why I left. Actually, we left right after all of that.
Really? Not a fun fact. Huh.
But I actually really like it in Vegas. It's a lot warmer.
That's where I'm from. I was born and raised.
Yeah. No way. We swapped.
No. One of my chapters in my book is called "The Last Vegas Nerve: Ultra Neon Dysregulation," and it's about being born and raised in Vegas. And it starts out saying that like it was confusing when I went to school in Arizona, because the grocery stores didn't have slot machines and it was quiet. And what do you mean things close? What do you mean? That's so funny.
It is weird when you live in this city. Like we've been here for almost 5 years now, and so it's like when you go anywhere else and like you can't go out to eat. Like I went back to Colorado because that's where I got my LASIK done and I had to get it fixed. And I went back there and we like it's like 9 o'clock and like everything's closing and we're like, where are we gonna get dinner?
Girl, what? Yeah, you're like IHOP, I guess. Yeah, no, like I was like, what do you mean Walgreens closes? What do you mean? How? Like that's so. Yeah, I was born and raised. I've like lived in the same house from birth to 18. Left Vegas.
That's crazy.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
And like growing up here had to have been pretty crazy too. We talk about that. Like as a kid, like you drive down and you see some of those billboards.
Yeah. You're just like, yeah. Because like it was like 15 minutes from downtown. And I also wrote about my very first job was I made balloon animals in restaurants for kids. And I know, like, what? I haven't picked it back up because it'll never stop. Like, someone's like, can you just do it for this? And it'll never stop, so we're not doing it. But, like I made bank on, like, it was a tips-only job. But, like, it was Vegas, and so people get you. And so my parents were like, you're doing what? And I'm like, watch me. And, like, day one, I worked for 3 hours, and I made $72. And so I'm like, but it wouldn't fly the same way in Thornton, Colorado. They'd be like, cool, thanks. Thank you. Wow, that's cute. Bye. And I'd be like, okay. And so
you wouldn't get a tip.
They'd be like, oh, I'm supposed to? Yeah. And so like I was like, is that not normal to like make balloon animals on the strip as your first job? Oh, you worked at Chick-fil-A? Oh, weird.
That's gotta be like just growing up here, just the different types of things that you see.
Yes.
I mean, when it comes to like literally being freedom, this city, not just like the state, this city is like the definition of as free as it gets.
Oh yes, yeah. Like our my high school like AP statistics class was entirely about gambling. Like it was like the like statistics of gambling and like all the different games. Like and like I'm thinking that's probably not the case everywhere else, but that was what we learned.
Definitely not everywhere else.
No, but like fun fact, I do not enjoy even like bingo, like because I would see, like when I was little, like at least once a year, family would have to move away because the parent would get the addiction, and so like, the idea of gambling to me is like even for like trinkets, like I'm like, oh, so.
Oh, I haven't gambled once since moving here. It's not for me. I come from a background of addicts that like not just with like substances, but like also gambling, like really bad gambling addicts in my family.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm originally from the Midwest, and like, so there's not much else to do there, right? Than drink and gamble, and you know what I mean. So like, all of that, just looking at it, like I always looked at it like a waste of money. My great aunt, God bless her. She's the sweetest lady. She taught me how to bake and everything, and like really what it was like. Like she's the reason I'm a really good wife. But she had a really big gambling addiction. And for my 21st birthday, her only wish was to take me to the boat. And so she took me to the boat because at 7 a.m. because I had to plan out my day because I'm not anymore, but I used to be a people pleaser. So my 21st birthday was wrapped around everyone that wanted to do something with me.
Oh, okay.
So I time blocked the day. So the start of my day was 7 a.m. on the boat with my great aunt, and she's like just playing away at the slot machine, and I played like 2 different ones and like put like maybe $20, I don't know, and it wasn't much, but like I was just like, okay, money's gone, and then I just sat up at the bar with my mom while my aunt was playing slots the rest of the time. It was
Happy birthday!
Yeah, it was very like not exciting, but it made her really happy, and to me like that made a big difference because like I said, she did teach me a lot of things that I wouldn't have learned without her. But like that was just like my introduction to gambling, and I was just like nah. And then my mom and my sister, my mom played slots and stuff too. I don't know why she didn't that day. It was probably just because she was hanging out with me, but like and then my sister and her both love scratch offs. So that's a big one. I mean, they don't have like, if they had gambling in the grocery stores in Iowa, they would all never buy food. They would end up at those machines, spend all their money, and then leave. So I've never really like seen a purpose because I just look at it like a loss. But
yeah, I don't like being like risky. Like I like planned, and so yeah, like. There's so many things I don't know where in Vegas you live, but like I went to Chaparral High, and it's like 15 minutes from downtown. And so like a lot of people, like my job, one of the restaurants I worked at was called Hippo and the Wild Bunch. And I'm like this is normal, right? And so it's an interesting thing, like how it was so quiet in cities. And did you could see stars in the sky in other cities? And I also think that's why I don't like fireworks. There's so many fireworks all the time.
I do hate that. I hate the fireworks.
Yeah, no, not a fan. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Yeah, and so it's like it's different. I like say when someone learns from Vegas, I'm always like, it wasn't my choice and it was not my fault.
It's an experience, though. It definitely gets you ready for anything.
It's definitely a different experience as a kid than is choosing it as an adult. But
yes.
Like a lot of people from high school are still there, you know. And
it is weird though, because it's very rare you run into somebody who's actually like from here because there's it's grown as a city, like so much. I mean, since you were a kid, the a lot of the city that's here now didn't even exist. And,
Yeah. There was I don't know if you've gotten into the show Pluribus. Oh man, my friend and I just like we went on a little vacation. We always watch a show. We binge that show. But like there's a segment where they go to Vegas, and I'm like, what is that? Like, you know, like, and I know it's like movie sets and stuff, but it's like it looked like a whole different, because a lot of the casinos that when I was a kid like have been knocked down for bigger, brighter ones. And so like it was like, yeah, it was a whole thing. I told one of my friends is like, would you ever go back? And I'm like, well, for anyone's like event, I would, but I would go back to see something at the Sphere because that place looks cool.
That place does look insane.
Have you been?
See? I haven't been. So far, they haven't had a show that like I feel like it's worth going to because
Sure.
I'm not a big show person, anyways. Like we do mostly like comedy shows and stand up and stuff, but like, and I'm not big on like big arenas and stuff for concerts, and neither is my husband. And then like he likes the UFC though, and they did a UFC fight there, and I wish he would have gone because it looked insane.
I saw Jim Gaffigan last night. And so, do you know Jim Gaffigan? Oh, stand-up comedian.
Okay. Maybe if I seen him, I might not know the name.
He's the Hot Pocket guy. It's like, no, okay. Tough guy.
No, I'll have to look him up. Did you see him at Comedy Works?
I saw him at Paramount.
Oh, okay.
The Paramount Theater, like in downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard the Sphere is really expensive, right?
It is.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's, like, stupid expensive.
It's definitely not worth the price and the seat location for the type of shows that are in there, personally.
Okay. Yeah, if, like, my favorite, like, Florence and the Machine is my favorite. Like, if she were there, I would, like, be like, oh, here's my monies.
Then it's worth it. If it's something you really want to see, I mean, I think it's cool regardless. I'm sure you'll have a great time, but just the price of the tickets just to me isn't worth it unless it's something you want to see.
Have you driven past when it's ever an eyeball? Because I feel like that would creep me out.
Yes, and there's a couple of them that are a little creepy.
I'd be like, what? Because, you know, I learned to drive in the spaghetti bowl. And so, like, I think I would be like, what is happening? Like, I don't know.
I feel like it's kind of dangerous, right? Because you have this, like, big distraction for everyone. Oh, and then, like, when you would want to go see it when it first opened and, like, you could, you know, see it, like, the lights and everything, like, it was such a cluster to go over there. It's not so bad anymore, but.
Yeah, no, hard pass. Yeah, like, so, but that's, I said I would go back for a thing, but, like, it's not exciting to me. Like, let's go to Vegas. Like, I would go for a thing.
Yeah, I don't really go to that area ever, to be honest. Like, we have one comedy club that we really like to go to, which is Wise Guys. It's owned by Pauly Shore.
Oh, fun fact.
He used to have, so he has a bunch in Utah, and then he had 3 here, but he closed 2 of them, and then they only have the one in Town Square now, which is nice, but I like the one in the Arts District just because it felt more like a little comedy dungeon.
I like that, yeah.
But yeah, we go to that, and that's pretty much it, unless there's something specific. But like I said, I don't really like the crowds and stuff anyway, so that's why I don't like big concerts and all of that stuff. I'm just at the age where it's just safety first, and it's got to be worth it.
Yeah. Did you love Red Rocks though?
Oh, like going to Red Rocks
Like,
in Colorado?
When you lived here? Yeah. Did you ever go to a concert?
Yeah. We did, and it was. I think we went to 2 different ones. I didn't have a clue who we seen, but it was really cool, and it didn't feel like that overcrowded like arena.
Yeah, because you're out in the open, and you're just like, oh, like,
it's really really cool. I do love that amphitheater. That's really cool.
I just like booked with a friend like at someone that's coming here in August, and like I don't like the congestion of the drive because like I guess I'm aged to that point that I'm like these drivers, but like it's better than like Ball Arena.
Yeah. Have you been to Comedy Works there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like the one downtown, right?
Mhm.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
the only one to go to. The other one is just like too nice and it doesn't have the same vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. The one is in like Stapleton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't love that. I were really sad that a place that I really liked didn't survive COVID. Madcap. They
Oh,
were
okay.
they were so funny. It was like improv. And
I
so their
haven't been
whole
to
thing was
improv.
like, yeah, well, their whole thing was like above the belt humor. So like they didn't say like just like fart jokes, you know? And so I loved it so much because it was like intelligent humor. And so, but they,
And like places like Colorado and like California where like they literally like shut down everything. There was no chance of doing anything. That
everything.
that's what really killed everyone. I still would have went.
Yeah, well, I went back, like I went home like everybody else did during COVID, but like I came back when the tattoo parlors opened up because I'm like, if the tattoo parlors can open up, your kids should be able to see their therapist. So I'm
Yeah.
coming back, because I'm like the kids were suffering, like they're like I don't want to just like talk on a screen. So
Well, and it's also hard too, right? Like having a conversation like this, if I don't have my headphones in, somebody else can hear everything we're saying. And if this is supposed to be a private conversation, but mom's on the other side of the door, they don't have
yeah,
that, like buffer of like being in a room secured with you. Now they're just
yes.
with a screen and they don't have that same safety.
Right. I had a lot of kids and teenagers take the calls in the car. And so it had the privacy thing, but the internet it wasn't great because you're in your car. And
Yeah.
so like I had a lot of them that felt like that was the only place they could go. And so I did have a mom spy on a kid during a session and get mad about what the kid was saying. So there's validity to that. That wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I would feel. You know what I mean? You can't have a conversation. I mean, I've had meetings and stuff. My husband can hear me from the, not that it mattered that he heard me, but like he can
You
hear
can.
the conversation and then I come out and he's like, "Yeah, I heard you say this or whatever." Like, you know what I mean? And same vice
Yeah.
versa. I can hear everything he says, especially cuz he's like 3 times as loud as me.
Because he's very he. Like,
Yeah. But like
yeah, yeah.
think of that as a child, you know what I mean? You don't feel safe. You don't for all they know is the door's shut and their mom's on the outs right outside of it listening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's true because, like, voices carry. So there were a lot of whispered conversations during COVID for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
poor
yeah,
kids. But we're past that and hopefully that never happens again.
hopefully it never happens again. Yeah.
Did we
Yeah,
learn our lesson?
I hope so. Like, that was bad news. That was not a good time for kids' mental health
No,
or
no. It wasn't
anyone's.
good for anyone's. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been so many divorces since COVID.
Mm.
Separations, all of that stuff too. It's not even just kids. And then on top of it, all those situations affected the kids.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a rough time. Yeah, like that definitely the amount of time with one another was like really hard. For kids and they're not getting the outlet of like, their friends or there it was so complicated. It was so complicated. And so I'm pretty glad we don't have to deal with that.
Same. I think for society now, the biggest thing is starting to get people that like enclose themselves and to the point where they're not socializing and like are still in fear or like maybe they just don't know how to socialize now. It's now like we're kind of having to like redo all of that, right? Like fix it. And there's still people that are scared to leave their house. To this day, there's still
Yeah.
people out there with a mask on, even though it's been proven not to work. Like it's crazy the mental the mental toll that whole thing took on everyone.
Yeah, I there was a mass uptick in kids like choosing online school. And so a lot of and some of that was like kids were seeing like that there was time wasted in like in-person school, like that when online school you can like just get your stuff done in a couple hours and then move on. And so they were like seeing like, oh, like there's like lag time of like wasting time. So I do have a great deal amount of kids who are on chosen online school, and they do have that social like deficit of like seeing other, because like that's where you see like your friends. And if they're not into, if they don't feel athletic, they're not on a sports team. And so I feel like some of that dynamic, they're like, they enjoy not having to like wake up at 7 a.m. But they're lonely. And
Yeah.
so that, and like it was like, I don't know the math of it, because again, math, but the percentage uptick of kids going to online school after COVID is huge. It has pros and cons.
And what's crazy too is think about that too a little bit. Like these kids see that there's all this wasted time at school. Like I've even seen that with like working for some people. Like I've done a lot of remote type jobs, and like when you sit in an office, there is a ton of wasted time. Like if I get everything done and now I have nothing to do, I just have to sit here for 4 more hours.
Yeah. You're like, come to a meeting that work could be handled in an email, you know?
Right. Yeah. Those kind of things. And then for kids to even notice that, like, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, because they're like, there's not the like, Chloe, like, stop, like, pestering your neighbor. Like, there's not a million, like, directives of the teacher doing that you have to deal with. Like, you just do your stuff and you move on.
Yeah, and nothing's more annoying than the kid that holds things up, right? Or the person that holds things up in a meeting or in school.
Yeah, like, I have a question. Do you? Like, do you?
Another?
Yeah, I know. Like, I have a big beef against group punishment because, like, it's usually the 2 kids. And then they're like, well, class, we're not going to second recess, you know? And so they're like, but I was listening. And so I think that one is really hard. Then they're not dealing with that anymore. So yeah, like I have a kid that is having a hard time because they do like the online school, but like they have a friend deficit.
Yeah, that not being able to socialize. I mean, even for me, I work from home, so I'm like constantly just at my desk by myself, and like my dad or my husband's like he's here sometimes, but my day is just like constantly just in front. I keep bumping that in front of like my computer screen, and I don't do anything else unless I get up and go walk my dog, and like I'm not talking to anyone. Sometimes I have meetings, but most of my meetings I'm just sitting there taking notes. I'm not even really contributing to the meeting. And so it's like you're not really socializing, and I'm a very extrovert type of person. So like to help with that, I go to like networking events, or I just get out of the house and run errands, or I have another podcast that I'm on that I go to once a week, and that kind of gets me out. I talk with 3 other people on a podcast, and that like lets me socialize. But like when you sit there by yourself for a long time, like that isolation is hard, especially if you are a natural like extrovert.
Yeah, or if you're like 13 and not good at like making friends.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, I think that they'd be tricky. I mean, it just changed. We haven't even done the research yet on like the impact that COVID has had on the generation. And I think it's going to be eye-opening for some, but some of us in the field are going to be like, yeah, well,
seen that coming.
We told you like that. Yeah, like that. It was like, I think it was just such a crazy, bizarre time.
It was. I'm just glad that we're on the up and up. So.
Same.
So just to kind of round us out here, we wanted to talk about your book a little bit, and we did, but I want to know a little bit more. When did it release, and where can people find it?
Yeah. So my book came out in April of last year. I flew to Nashville to do my own audiobook. So if you like this voice, it is on Spotify and Audible. It's free on Spotify Premium. And so my website is, which I'm sure will be in the show notes, because there's a million ways to spell my name, which I'm sure you understand.
I do.
And so it's stacyschaffer.com. And on my website, my business manager made it so that if you put in your email address, you can get the first chapter of my book for free to get like a taste of that. And there's also a resource on my website that's it's 5 things parents should know in 2026. And so you can access that there. But stacyschaffer.com. It's on Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Barnes and Noble online. And if you speak South Korean, it's getting published in Korea, which is super random. And that should be available soon.
What inspired that?
I don't know. I got contacted by someone that my translator that is so kind, and they're like, "Hey, so I stumbled across your book because I'm interested in kids and mental health, and like, have the Korean rights been sold yet?" And I was like, "What?" And so I like connected us all to my publisher, and I was like, it turned out to be a legit thing. And so there was negotiation, and I signed. He was like, South Korean readers will really like this. And I'm like, okay. And so I signed over the rights a couple of months ago, and it's almost done. But fun fact, I said, because the title's being changed a bit and the cover. And I was like, I'm okay with that, but like, I'm wondering if you could still make it purple because like that's my signature. And yeah, that's like recognizable me. And they're like, actually in Korea, purple is a sign of morbidity and death. And so we don't think it would do well with your demographic. Is that a deal breaker? And I was like, it's not a deal breaker. I respect your culture, but it's the first thing people are going to ask me. And so good to know. And so I saw last week a preview of the color, and it's very yellow. But they're like, we included some of the written text as purple for you. And I was like, that's kind of adorable, but it's real yellow. It's real yellow. And so, okay. And so it is going to be available really soon in Korean. So for any readers or listeners that are into that, it'll be in Korean.
Very cool. Very cool. That's something I've never heard of before. So that's why I was like, I had to ask.
I know. Like I was like, what was happening? And so, so that'll be fun. Hopefully. But it's going to be the first question. People are like, why is it yellow?
Well, I don't know, because it's in Korea, right? So like most of the time, anyone who buys it's probably going to be Korean and will understand why it's yellow.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I meant my own friends. Like when I post about it, they'll be like, "Why?" So I'll have to say ahead of time, "Hey everyone." Like
due to Korea, you just have like a clause.
Yeah, like I'm like, yeah, it which like they know what they're doing in the Korean market, but I just think it's pretty funny. But so who knows? Like maybe it'll take off in Korea as a yellow book.
I love it. I love it. So all of that information, just send it to me, and then I will make sure that it is in the description, the episode description, so everyone has it available to grab links and everything else. If you want to include your link to your resource too for parents.
Yeah, it's on stacyschaffer.com. So where you can get my first chapter, link to my book, and that resource, it's all on stacyschaffer.com, which I will happily send to you.
Yeah, anything you want included in the description, I will add.
And be like, you guys will really like it. It's a really good book. But yeah, like it was fun doing my own audiobook. Shout out to Nashville Audio Productions. That was one of the best experiences, but it was fun doing the audiobook. So if you can handle this for 7 hours, there you go.
Yeah. Well, and usually it's broken up anyway, so it's only like however time you have. So.
No, that's true.
Okay, so to kind of round everything out, is there any last words, advice, anything you want to throw out there, or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I want to say that like that there's always a tomorrow. My favorite quote is from Victor Hugo from Les Mis, and it's like, even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise. because I think so much of my story, my early story, it's tragic and sad. But I always like knew I was just really scrappy, and I was like, you're not going to get me down. And so I want people to always remember that there's always a way out.
I love that. Yeah. Because we all go through stuff, and like sometimes it does feel like there's nowhere to go.
Totally.
And there's always something you can do. It's just where you put your focus.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that I like to think that, one of my favorite things to be described as resilient, that I'm like, yeah, like I'm scrappy. I'm going to keep going. And so like anyone who feels like they're like, it's really dark, like know that like the sun will rise.
You just got to keep pushing forward.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was such great advice. And thank you for coming on Messy on Purpose and telling a little bit about your story, telling us about your book, and also our random conversation about Vegas.
Love it. Love it. Born and raised. Yep. Very sparkly I am.
If you ever end up out here for a show or something, let me know. Maybe we can do an in-person episode.
Oh, I would love that journey for me. Yeah.
I won't make you come out here for no reason, but if you're already out here.
Yeah. Katie, we got to find something. My friend who I travel with a lot, she was like, there's some like food, like travel thing that was happening in Vegas, that like a food tasting thing. And I was like, I mean, I like food. It's fine. We'll go.
Is it like the little like carnival food thing? I can't remember what it's called, but they have a couple of them a year.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what she was talking about, but I was like, okay, I'll go. Yeah. I need to go for a thing. That's a thing.
I haven't been to that yet. So if you come out for it, let me know. Okay. I'm a foodie too.
I'll have like my people contact your people.
Yeah, yeah. And then we'll just have both of you on the podcast, and we'll just have a conversation.
I love Katie likes to talk. Katie is an extrovert. She would like that.
Perfect.
Like, we were just in the hot springs last weekend, and she would be like, yeah, my friend
wrote a book. Hey, we all got to have friends like that. I'm just saying.
We love us some Katie. We love Katie.
But yeah, that would be so fun. So if you guys come out, let me know, and let's plan it.
Let's do it. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. And until next time, guys. Bye.